I still remember the chilling words written in letters sent to police: bind, torture, kill. For decades, the BTK Killer terrorized Wichita, Kansas, taunting investigators with notes while families lived in fear. Behind those letters was Dennis Rader, a quiet church leader hiding a monstrous secret. I turn the page of my diary and write his name: Dennis Lynn Rader. To the people of Park City, Kansas, he was a husband, father, church president, and compliance officer. He lived in a modest home with his wife and children, mowing his lawn, going to church, and smiling at neighbors. No one suspected that he was also the BTK Killer. Born in 1945, Rader grew up in Wichita. From a young age, he displayed troubling behaviors. He admitted later that he enjoyed torturing small animals. As he got older, he developed violent sexual fantasies centered on bondage and control. But he hid these impulses behind the mask of an ordinary life. Rader joined the Air Force in the mid-1960s and later married Paula Dietz in 1971. They had 2 children. He worked different jobs before eventually becoming a city compliance officer, where he enforced local codes and regulations. Neighbors described him as strict, sometimes petty, but no one thought he was dangerous. By the mid-1970s, Wichita was a peaceful city, until the murders began. The community didn't know it yet, but the man who attended church potlucks was also preparing to unleash terror. Rader gave himself a name that would become infamous: BTK. Bind, torture, kill. I close this section with unease, because the mask of normalcy was only the surface. The next page of my diary will reveal the first crimes, when the world first learned that Wichita had a predator in its midst. In January 1974, the Otero family was found murdered in their Wichita home. Parents Joseph and Julie, along with 2 of their children, were strangled. The crime shocked the community. Police had no suspects, no leads, but this was the beginning of BTK. Rader had targeted them deliberately. He later admitted he stalked them, planned the attack, and carried out the murders while feeding his fantasies of control. To the outside world, it looked like a robbery gone wrong. But for him, it was the start of his projects, as he coldly called them. Over the next few years, more victims followed. Catherine Bright in 1974, Shirley Vian in 1977, Nancy Fox in 1977. Each crime scene bore the same mark: victims bound, tortured, and killed. The pattern was clear, but the identity of the killer was not. At first, police thought these were isolated cases. But then, letters started arriving, and the killer gave himself a name. BTK began sending taunting letters to police and newspapers. He described the murders in disturbing detail, proving he was the killer. He demanded recognition, writing, "How many people do I have to kill before I get my name in the paper?" It was in one of these letters that he revealed his chosen name: BTK. Bind, torture, kill. Wichita was gripped with fear. Parents warned their children. Women double-locked their doors. Police formed task forces, but BTK seemed to vanish and reappear at will. During the 1980s, the killings paused. Rader was raising his family, working and serving as church council president. Many thought BTK might have been dead, jailed, or simply gone. But in reality, he was still there, living quietly, suppressing his urges. At first, it looked like the BTK killer had disappeared forever. But decades later, he would resurface, with a mistake that finally exposed him. I turn the page to the chilling details of his crimes. BTK stalked his victims carefully. He called them projects. He often watched them, studied their routines, and planned his attacks. Once inside their homes, he tied them up, relishing control, and then killed them, sometimes with rope, sometimes by strangulation. Each scene was horrifying. Victims were bound with knots he had practiced. Some were posed after death. His crimes were not impulsive. They were organized, methodical, but BTK wanted more than murder. He wanted attention. His letters to police and the media mocked investigators. He compared himself to other killers, demanded headlines, and threatened more deaths. Wichita lived in terror every time a new letter arrived. In 1986, he killed Vicky Wegerle, adding another victim to his list. But after that, he seemed to vanish again. For nearly 15 years, there were no confirmed BTK murders. Wichita breathed easier, but families of victims still had no answers. At first, the silence made it seem like the nightmare was over. But in 2004, BTK returned, and this time his own arrogance would undo him. In 2004, the Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone claiming to be BTK. Inside were photos and a copy of Vicky Wegerle's driver's license, proving authenticity. After decades of silence, BTK was back. More packages followed: puzzles, word games, and taunts. He even asked police in a letter, if he sent a floppy disk, could it be traced? The police responded publicly, saying no. Rader, trusting them, sent in the disk. Investigators traced metadata on the floppy to Christ Lutheran Church and a man named Dennis Rader. After decades of hunting, they finally had a name. DNA samples from his daughter confirmed the match. BTK had been caught. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was arrested near his home. Wichita gasped. The friendly church president, the city inspector, the quiet neighbor, he was BTK. During interrogation, Rader confessed calmly. He described each murder in detail, showing no remorse. He explained how he stalked, bound, tortured, and killed. For investigators, it was chilling. He treated murder like routine tasks, calling them his projects. The investigation revealed decades of missed chances. Police had hunted BTK for years but couldn't connect the dots. Rader's ability to blend in, live a normal life, and stop for years at a time made him one of the most elusive killers in history. The police thought they might never catch him. But one careless floppy disk ended the hunt. In court, Dennis Rader shocked the world. Instead of denying, he described his crimes in chilling detail. He spoke about his fantasies, his planning, and how he carried out each murder. His calmness horrified everyone. In August 2005, he was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms, 175 years. He will never leave prison. BTK's arrogance, his need for recognition, was the flaw that exposed him. For decades he hid in plain sight. But in the end, his own pride destroyed him. I close my diary with the final truth. Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, is behind bars for life. The case is solved. His family, church, and community were stunned, betrayed by the man who wore a mask of normalcy for decades. And so my diary ends with this thought: evil doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it smiles from across the street, shakes your hand at church, or enforces city codes. What do you think? Was BTK's downfall inevitable, or would he still be free if not for that floppy disk? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more haunting true crime diaries.